I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, the lovely and talented Miss Tiffany. What's up, ma'am?
Not too much. I feel like I'm short. I think my chair's lowered too much. I just realized that. I've been in here with you for how long, and I just now realized that I'm really short. But that's okay. I'm here.
You are really short.
I am really short. I think I need to pump myself up or something. I think my chair's low.
Why don't you grow a little bit?
Well, I stopped. I'm fun sized, okay? I quit growing at 5 foot.
We'll ask Zach about that.
I am. He has to look down on me, and he's always like, oh my God, you're so short. I'm like, shut up.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Doing something a little bit different tonight. We have no guest lined up. We are going to be covering a missing persons case. This one, you guys that have followed us for a while now, you know that we like to talk about missing person cases every once in a while, but I don't think that we've ever done a live show dedicated to just missing people. But this one tonight, guys, it's creepy. It's haunting. It's horrifying. Something happened to these young ladies overseas in Panama that 10 years later, we're still trying to get to the bottom of. We just don't know. So many people have covered this case. And I've known ever since that we started doing the missing persons case files that eventually I was going to cover this case. But I wanted to save it for something like this, like a special. I didn't want to do like a 30-minute video on it where, we just talk about it. Something happened to these young ladies in the prime of their life. It's horrifying. I'm a father. I've got 2 daughters. I've got a daughter that's around the age of these young ladies when they went missing. And I just could not imagine. I can't imagine what their parents went through, what they're still going through 10 years later with 0 answers. Something happened to these young ladies, and we're not going to get to the bottom of it because no one's been able to yet. We're not going to do it on this show. But I hope one day that family will get some answers. What did you think about this case?
Yeah, I concur. Because both of our older children are in the same age range of these 2 young ladies. So there's a lot of red flags, and there's a lot of room for speculation. There's a lot of room for theories. But the fact of the matter is out of all the speculation and all the theories, we have no conclusion. None at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, very well said. So I've got a video that it's not a video. I'm going to play the audio because the last time we tried to play the video on a live show, we got penalized. So hopefully if I just play the audio, you guys can get the same effect, just listening to it instead of actually seeing it, without getting in trouble. So hopefully we can do that. But before we do, we got some bills to pay.
Yeah, we do. And we can't be put on the naughty list, Wayne. It's 8 days.
It is so close to Christmas.
No, we have to be good.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I
We
have
are.
a huge shout out to send to Miss Chris Blaylock.
Yes.
We'll get to that in just a minute. But yeah, let's get this going. Guys, if you are new to the program, tonight we would love to have you come back. Please hit that subscribe button. It will help you in doing so. Help Miss Tiffany and I continue to grow this show. Please hit the subscribe button.
And if you would like to be on with Wayne and myself, you can reach out to both of us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or me, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. And we cover the whole gamut. I mean, from ghostly encounters, cryptid encounters, we have researchers on, we have authors on. So reach out to us and we can get you scheduled. We are booking now for January. So just keep that in mind.
How crazy is that? We're already booking for the new year.
It is insane. Like, we blinked on Thanksgiving and bam, here we are.
We have some lofty goals for the new year, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But yeah, everybody, if you would, please do us a favor. Head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. That is our website. Check out all the other shows under the studio's umbrella. Sign up for the Bigfoot newsletter. Pick up some merch. All of that amazingly, awesomely cool stuff. You can't do any of that unless you head over to paranormalworldproductions.com.
And even though we don't have a guest tonight, okay, Wayne and I are not experts on this case by any means, but you can still ask us questions and we'll give you our best opinion on the topic.
But please put those in all caps.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. Thanks for coming in clutch, pal.
You're so professional, and I
know.
thank you.
I try so damn hard for you.
Yeah, but like Tiffany said, you know, we're not we're not experts at anything. You know, I mean, I'm certainly not. But we have looked into this case quite a bit, and we will give you our honest opinion. And guys, I do want to mention, I haven't done it in a while. My group animal research. Where did you go? What are you doing?
I was trying to fix my chair, and I hit the lever, and I went. So,
you know, you got that little button that cuts your camera off, right?
Yeah,
that allows us to do these things.
If I did this stuff behind the veil, well, what would everybody have to laugh at?
Oh, whatever. Anyway, guys, Manimal Research on Facebook. That's the Facebook group. Yeah, you're welcome to head over there and join. We would love to have you. But what I want to talk about is the actual organization of Manimal Research. I'm so proud of this group. I founded it in 2019. We get out, we do field research, we do investigations into Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and different places. We have members in like 6 or 7 different states now. I'm so proud of this organization. We have got some awesome stuff, some project coming up. And if you would like to be involved in any of that, getting out, camping, just hanging out with cool people, like-minded people, we would love to talk to you about that. Just shoot me an email and I can get you set up with that stuff. But again, I'm so proud of everything that's happening with Manimal research. So if you guys are interested in that and actually not watching videos, but actually getting out in the field, camping, meeting people, looking for evidence, looking for tracks, for structures, for listening for vocalizations, all of that stuff. If you want to do that, we would love to talk to you about it. It doesn't matter where you're at. If we don't have anybody in that state, you can be the first person in that state. We will set it up. Just please contact me. I would love to talk to you about that. All right. Again, our membership is open. We have signed up a few people for the YouTube membership, PO Freaks. It is $1.99 a month. If you are interested in that, all you have to do is click that join button. You get access to free shows. If you want to be a part of a like-minded family, join now. Absolutely. Thank you, Troy. Yeah, if you want to become a member, want to become a PO Freak, like I said, it's $1.99 a month. You get members only lives. You get early access to stuff. You get access to the Discord, which is only members only. And just a real big family. We hang out, chat, and have a good time. We would love to talk to you about that.
Yes, and we have something that we're working on for you guys too. So we
do.
A
As
lot
we
of
said
stuff.
earlier, a new year coming up, so we have some new stuff in store for you. And lastly, before we get into this case, if you notice at the bottom, the Cash App. Wayne Totherow, the Cash App, or the Venmo at Charles Totherow. Either one is fine. We've been asking that you guys, if you want to help us out monetarily, that you do it that way. You have been helping us with super stickers, and that's awesome. You guys are great. But YouTube likes to take their money. They like to take a lot of money. Now, getting up there close to 50% of what we make. They don't need it as bad as we do. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So we have been asking you guys to help us out down there. We are so close to Christmas. If you guys want to help us out at the Christmas time, this is a great way to do it. As I mentioned earlier, our great, great friend, Chris Blaylock, who is not only a loyal member of the show, she's a PO Freak, she is a member of Manimal Research. She hit us tonight with $100.
Ma'am. Thank you
so very much for that. You are awesome, ma'am. We realize not everybody can do that. If you are able to help us out, Tiffany and I split that. I'll be sending Tiffany her portion of that after the show. If anyone else is out there that would like to help us, we would so much appreciate it. The Cash App or the Venmo, or if you'd rather do it through the super sticker, that's fine. Just whatever you guys are comfortable with. Christmas is coming up. Everything is tight. And anything you guys could do would be so very much appreciated. Thank you so much, Chris, for everything that you do.
100% out of 100%. Thank you so much. It means everything to us.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you very, 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 very much. All right. Well, we're going to stop begging now. We're going to get into this case. Man, Chris and what was the other lady's name? Elise, or something like that.
Are you talking about on the case?
Yeah.
It's
Chris Craner.
It's Chris Kremer and Lisanne Foon.
Lisanne Foon, that's right. Goonie Goo Goo, thank you so much
yes,
for that super sticker. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate it very, very much. But yeah, these two ladies were in their early 20s when they decided they became really good friends. They wanted to do some traveling. And that's what they kind of bonded over. they saved up their money and they wanted to go on this trip to Panama. They were going over there. I mean, these ladies, they weren't just going over there to party. They were going over there to volunteer their time. They were going to help teach like students, and just they were learning Spanish, and they just seemed like really, really awesome young ladies. They really did. Their lives were cut tragically short. Do you want to talk a little bit about the case, Tiffany?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Wayne said, they were going over there to teach. I think they were teaching the students English, but I know that they themselves were also going over there to learn some Spanish. And I mean, they had the purest of intentions going over there. I mean, yes, they're in their 20s. Yes, that's when you party and you do stupid stuff. But I mean, these were solid-minded women, essentially. And they go on a hike, and that was the last anybody seen of them. They were staying with a host family, and they didn't come back home.
Yeah. Tragically, they didn't. There's so many things that happen in this story. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there myself. I don't think this was an accident. I think these ladies were met with foul play in one way or another. We're going to be talking about a couple of different things that might have happened to them. I've got about a 25-minute clip that I'm going to play for you guys that will do a much better job than Tiffany and I in like breaking you in to this case, bringing you in from the ground level and giving you a full idea. So I'm going to play that. It's not a video. It's completely audio. So you guys let me know if you can hear it okay. But after that is over, Tiffany and I will be back to talk about what we think happened. And you guys be coming up. If you have heard about this case, if you have any opinions, please be ready to let us know what you think. But I'm going to go ahead and start the clip. Okay, y'all let me know if y'all can hear it okay.
On the morning of the 1st of April 2014, two young women decided to hike up to a popular tourist spot on the famous Pianista Trail. They were never seen alive again. Were their deaths the result of a tragic accident? Or is there more to this mystery than meets the eye? What happened to the lost girls of Panama?
All right, guys, real quick, before we get going, I want everyone take a second, look at the poll question. Read the poll question, go ahead and answer, and I will tell you we will be revealing the answer to that question at the end of the show. Okay, carrying on.
There's no sound now, Wayne.
It's coming.
Okay.
Are you not hearing it?
I can hear a little bit of the music.
It is said that every year in the month of
That's
April,
better.
in those first few weeks when the rains begin to fall over the rolling hills of the Green Mountain Highlands, that if you listen very closely, you will hear the echoed cries of Las Chicas Holandesas. It is nothing more than a local superstition, but for the people of a small town, nestled in a valley on the southern flank of the Continental Divide, those cries are both clear and ominous. The name of this small town is Boquete, and it belongs to a region of Panama, which has often been described as Little Switzerland. Its stunning pine forests, crystal clear lakes, and steep pastures are highly reminiscent of those Swiss landscapes. presenting an idyllic beauty, which seems to reinforce Panama's very distinction of being Central America's safest nation. For how could anything bad happen in amongst all that splendour? At least that is the impression two young women had when they decided to visit this part of the world. Lisanna Fraun and Chris Kramers had saved up for months to take the holiday of a lifetime, a 6-week-long tour of the tropical paradise that is the Isthmus of Panama. Their stay was to be more than a simple vacation, as they planned to learn fluent Spanish and partake in volunteer work whilst they were there. As they boarded their flight on the 15th of March 2014, they no doubt did so with a feeling of excitement and anticipation, oblivious to the tragedy that awaited them. 2 weeks after landing at Dogman International Airport, they would hike up into the heavenly cloud forests of the Green Mountain Highlands and never return. It would be months before any trace of them was found, and those traces would leave behind a truly haunting mystery which divides opinion to this day. Found in amongst their recovered belongings was a camera, which would provide a tiny window into their final days and leave us wondering, was it just a tragic accident, or did something far more sinister occur? It is not a question we can answer, but one we can at least elaborate upon. So let us go back to where it all started, with two young ladies who would later become known as Las Chicas Holandesas, the Dutch girls, Lisanna and Chris. Lisanna Fraun was born on the 24th of September 1991. Standing at 6 feet tall, she was described as athletic and adventurous. She was a keen member of her college volleyball team and had also dabbled in more extreme endeavours such as mountaineering and skydiving. Lisanna was also highly intelligent, having graduated from Saxion University with a degree in applied psychology. During her studies, she had developed a passion for amateur photography and had purchased a camera so that she could further indulge in her newfound hobby. As she had spent her whole life in Amersfoort, a municipality in Utrecht province of the Netherlands, she longed to travel the world, and it was through this desire that she befriended a young lady named Chris Kramers. Chris was born on the 9th of August 1992, and where Lisanna was a bit of an introvert, Chris was the exact opposite. Her outgoing nature was reflected in her love of the arts. She was an amateur actress, and was on the verge of graduating in art history at the University of Utrecht. Friends and relatives spoke highly of her open, friendly nature and her great sense of humour. She was the kind of person that would do anything for anyone if they were in need. Chris met Lisanna whilst working part-time at a cafe in Amersfoort, and the pair bonded quickly due to their mutual interest in travelling. As friends, they soon became inseparable, and they planned to take a trip to Central America as soon as they had saved up enough money. But as they were penniless students, they had to cut their respective living costs, and so moved into an apartment together to help raise those funds. Within 6 months, they had booked their flight to Panama and kissed their families goodbye with an unspoken promise to return. Of course, they couldn't have known that they would break that promise just as completely as they would break the hearts of those they loved.
I'm going to be going on to Whatnot to see how many Funko Pops I can buy with just $100.
Sorry about that, guys.
Let me bid.
Spent the
There you
first
go.
2 weeks of their holiday sightseeing and taking part in leisure activities before moving on to the real purpose of their trip. As mentioned previously, they wanted to learn fluent Spanish and had applied for jobs in order to accomplish this quickly. It just so happened that a school in the small town of Boquete in West Panama had been looking for volunteer social workers to help out with the children's studies. This had all been arranged when they first booked the holiday, and they were under the impression that they were due to start their jobs at the school on the 31st of March 2014. However, when they arrived on this date, they were told rather bluntly that they were 7 days early. Now at a loose end, and with a whole week to kill, they decided to explore the Green Mountain Highlands and Volcan Baru National Park, which were just a stone's throw away from Boquete. They had it in mind to hike up to the Continental Divide, a point which separates the watersheds that flow into the Pacific Ocean to the south and Caribbean Sea to the north. At 1,850 meters above sea level, the Mirador, or lookout, sits right on the cusp of the Continental Divide and offers stunning 360-degree panoramas, which stretch all the way to the horizon. The main route leading up to the Mirador is known as the Pianista Trail, which is highly popular with tourists, not only for its population of tropical birds and its breathtaking vistas, but also because the trail cuts through the region's famous cloud forests. These are dense woodlands, most of which are quite literally situated inside the cloud layer due to their altitude, which gives them an almost ethereal appearance. It is no wonder that this turned out to be Chris and Lisanna's first port of call. Unfortunately for them, it would also be their last. On the morning of the 1st of April, they were seen having brunch at around 10 a.m. with 2 other men, also Dutch nationals, whom they had befriended shortly after arriving in Boquete. This was the last time anyone decisively recalled seeing them. A few people told police that they thought they had seen them on the Pianista Trail later that day, but these reports were unconfirmed. In any case, they made a final post on Facebook stating their intention to walk around Boquete and then set off for the Mirador as soon as they had finished their meal. Along the way, they were accompanied by a dog named Blue, a household pet of the family they were lodging with. Timestamps on recovered photos, when matched by location, suggested that they made excellent time, and that they had arrived at the Continental Divide by 1 p.m. that afternoon. The pictures also indicated that the weather was bright and sunny, and views from the Mirador were clear and far-reaching. What was obvious was that the two women had dressed and packed relatively light, definitely not intending to take an extended hike. The first signs that something was up emerged later that evening, when Blue returned home by himself. Chris and Lisanna were nowhere to be seen. The next day, they failed to show up for a pre-booked appointment with a local tour guide, which raised further alarm within the community. Meanwhile, back in the Netherlands, the girls' families had stopped receiving text messages, which had been a daily occurrence up until that point. On the 3rd of April, residents from the town began a ground search for the two young women, whilst local authorities made aerial sweeps. The participation of local authorities is actually a point of contention amongst investigators. Whilst official search and rescue teams are adamant that their involvement began on the 3rd, many stakeholders, including townsfolk, flatly reject this claim, and instead state that they did not get involved until many days later, on the 6th. Coincidentally, this is also the date on which police detectives, dog teams, and the girls' families arrived from the Netherlands to assist in the search. Despite the concerted effort by hundreds of people, as well as the offer of a $30,000 reward by family members, nobody found a single trace of the two young women. After 10 days, the official search came to an end, but many townspeople still took it upon themselves to continue looking. It was all to no avail. Chris and Lisanna had seemingly vanished into thin air. 10 weeks passed by, and long after all other searches had ceased, a member of the indigenous Ngobi tribe walked into Boquete, carrying Lisanna's blue backpack and some of the girls' other belongings. She handed it in to the local police department, saying that she had found it on the bank of a river near her village of Alto Romero. It was close to a rice paddy where she had been working, and she indicated that it had not been there the day before. This suggested it had washed up on the riverbank sometime during the previous evening. When authorities checked the contents of the backpack, they found 2 pairs of sunglasses, a water bottle, $83 in cash, Lisanna's passport, her camera, 2 pairs of bras, and both women's mobile phones. Everything was dry, and the camera and phones were still in working order, somewhat contradicting the possibility that the backpack had been washed downstream. Authorities immediately began an extensive search of the area and located Chris's jean shorts about a mile upstream from where the backpack was discovered. Some people say that they were found zipped and neatly folded on top of a rock, whilst others contend that they were found floating in the river itself. One of Chris's empty boots was also located in the same area. If the discovery of clothing and apparel had been a reason to panic, Nothing would prepare.
If your paycheck isn't for a
Sorry
couple of
about
days,
that.
but you needed some money now, I got you. So Dave Extra Cash has been my absolute...
Prepare the families for what came next. Over the next 2 months, up to 33 bone fragments were found scattered over a small area, including a piece of Lizanna's pelvis, as well as one of her boots with her foot bones still inside. Fragments of Chris's bones were also found relatively close by, along with those of 3 other unidentified individuals. This came as something of a shock to those close to the case, and suspicions of foul play began to weigh heavily on everyone's minds. In the meantime, police had been checking the contents of both the phones and the camera. It was discovered that between the dates of the 1st and 3rd of April, the girls had made a total of 7 failed attempts to call emergency services, the first call being placed only a few hours after they had reached the Mirador on the day of their hike at 16:39 in the afternoon. After the 3rd of April, the phones were only ever powered on to carry out signal checks. No further attempts to call emergency services were made. It is believed that Lizanna's phone ran out of battery on the 5th, as it was not turned on again after this date. On the 6th, Chris's phone was powered on, but the access pin was entered incorrectly for the first time. In fact, a total of 77 attempts to access the phone were made between the 7th and 10th of April, but all were unsuccessful. This phone was switched on again on the 11th for a signal check and was left active for just over an hour, before being switched off for the final time. The phones were not accessed again after this date. The most chilling aspect of the entire case, however, would be the 100 or so photographs that were found on Lizanna's camera. The first 11 images were ordinary enough. Taken on the 1st of April, they show the girls walking along the trail, taking selfies and generally enjoying the hike. But as the afternoon wore on, the last few of these images begin to exhibit a different mood. Pictures taken from behind Chris show her looking back at Lizanna with an uncertain expression. The camera was not used again from the 2nd to the 7th of April, but in the early hours of the 8th, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning, more than 90 photos were taken in complete darkness. Neither of the women are featured in these images, apart from a close-up of Chris's strawberry blonde hair with what looks like dried blood on her skin. What they do show are snapshots of the dark jungle interior, most of which are aimed at nothing in particular, although a few of them do seem to have a purpose in mind. Some show twigs and reflective materials laid out in deliberate patterns, others with plastic bags hooked onto branches. One is even believed to have been taken from the top of a ravine, looking down upon a body lying at the bottom, but it is far too dark to be conclusive, even after enhancement. All in all, the images add a somewhat bizarre element to the case, but unfortunately, they present far more questions than they do answers. So what happened to these 2 young women during the days after they went missing? The most prominent theory is that they took a wrong turn whilst on the Continental Divide, and instead of heading back down towards Boquete on the south side, they moved into the much deeper wilderness to the north. Once they realised they had become lost, they tried calling emergency services, but were unsuccessful. They probably continued moving downhill in this direction, hoping they would find their way out or stumble upon a settlement. But unknown to Chris and Lizanna, the only thing that awaited them was even more notoriously difficult terrain, with a lot of almost impassable ravines. It is believed that on the 5th of April, Chris suffered a terrible, perhaps even fatal, accident. The fact that the person who tried to access her phone on the 6th did not know the PIN suggests that this was probably Lizanna. Chris must have been either unconscious or dead at this point, otherwise she would have been able to just tell her friend what the PIN number was. There is a possibility that Lizanna stayed with the dead or dying Chris for some time, not wanting to leave her alone. When she at last decided to move on, she placed markers indicating where Chris's body was located in case she made it out alive and had to guide rescuers back in to retrieve her body, and this was believed to be the purpose of the nighttime photos. Either that, or she was using the flash as a light source as she walked through the forest in darkness, which would have been highly dangerous. In any case, Lizanna probably survived a few more days. This was supported by the fact that Chris's phone was powered on again on the 11th. However, she must have eventually succumbed to starvation or dehydration soon afterwards, or suffered an accident of her own. The bones found inside her boot indicated that she had broken her foot at some point, suggesting she had suffered a trip or fall. The bodies of the two women were then at the mercy of scavengers, and their remains were more than likely washed downstream towards El Toromero. Despite being a relatively plausible explanation, there are a number of issues with this theory. First of all, how could the girls have taken a wrong turn whilst on the Continental Divide? The north-facing slopes are much steeper than the south, and it would have been obvious that this was not the way they had come. Secondly, from the Mirador, the Pianista Trail is easily recognizable, and you can even see the town of Boquete lying in the valley below from this altitude. So why did they travel in the opposite direction? Could they have been forced into going this way? Foul play has never been ruled out of this case, and although evidence regarding their phone usage seems to contradict the involvement of a third party, there are other possibilities. A kidnapper would never have allowed the two women to keep hold of their phones, so it is unlikely that they were ever abducted. But what if they had been followed? According to an article published in 2016 by the Daily Beast, there is apparently a tour guide in Boquete who many locals suspect as having something to do with the deaths of the two women. He was not named, but it is known that he had met with Lizanna and Chris less than 24 hours before they disappeared. He had offered them a full tour package, including a guided hike up to the Continental Divide, plus an overnight stay at his ranch on the other side of the mountains. For reasons known only to themselves, the girls declined his offer and decided to walk the Pianista Trail alone. This particular tour guide has a reputation in the town for being overly friendly towards female tourists. In fact, even some hikers who have visited the region mentioned on Reddit when discussing this case that this same tour guide had behaved inappropriately towards their own girlfriends, petting them and touching them. Could this man have taken Chris and Lizanna's rejection as a slight? Could he have followed them up the Pianista Trail and have scared them into seeking another route down? After all, he was the one who first discovered their remains, and what's more, they were located less than half a mile from his ranch.
Y'all heard the news, right? The southern border in Texas is still letting migrants in, and guess what? The gov's handing out...
And suspicions regarding a third party do not end there. When forensics examined Lizanna's backpack, they discovered more than 30 sets of fingerprints on it. Whilst it is possible that the lady who found the bag may have passed it around her village before handing it in to police, this was never confirmed. Another unusual aspect is the lack of grease on the backpack and items of recovered clothing. As a body decomposes, grease evacuates the soft tissues and soaks into whatever the cadaver is wearing, and one would expect this to have been found on the girls' apparel if they had died as the result of an accident. There were also questions raised over the condition of some of the remains. Chris's bones looked as if they had been bleached, which was not in accordance with the rate of decay, and seemed unlikely given the covering of the forest canopy. However, this depends entirely on where her bones were located. If they had been washed up on the bank of a river, for instance, which received more sunlight, it is not incomprehensible for them to have been bleached in the intense rays over a period of months. On the other hand, there were no markings on the bones whatsoever. If the bodies had fallen victim to scavengers after death, teeth marks and other minuscule abrasions would have been detected under a microscope, but there were none. The lack of any big bones is also troubling for many investigators. Why didn't they find any significant remains? As one of the most prominent guides in Boquete was quoted as saying, "There are no animals up there that would eat a skull, so where are the rest of Chris and Lizanna's bodies?" Other pertinent questions regarding the deletion of a picture on the camera also point to the possibility of something more sinister. Image 509, which sits in between the final daytime photo taken on the 1st and the first nighttime photo taken on the 8th, seem to be missing, but it's unclear whether this was deleted by one of the girls or another party later on, perhaps to hide something. It should come as no surprise that many people in the town suspect a cover-up. As tourism accounts for almost $4 billion a year, 18% of Panama's GDP, residents insist that the accident scenario has been overly pushed by local authorities rather than one involving foul play, in order to protect that income. Especially since the deaths of Chris and Lizanna, it is now believed that there may be a serial killer at large in the area. There have been up to 25 deaths and disappearances in the region which remain unsolved, 2/3 of which have occurred over the last 3 years. This makes one wonder who the other 3 individuals were whose remains were found along with the girls, but authorities simply explain this by saying that the terrain on that side of the divide is very dangerous. Even the indigenous peoples are wary of traversing that part of the region, and many have died crossing the monkey bridges which crisscross the ravines. There are many more theories out there, of course. Some believe the girls were eaten by pygmy cannibals, or killed for their organs by traffickers. Some even favour a supernatural explanation, and have noted similarities with missing 411 cases. But as it stands, the deaths of Chris Kramers and Lizanna Frown were more than likely a tragic accident, although it seems that there are far too many questions hanging over this case to conclude this with any certainty. Too many bizarre elements, such as why Lizanna took those photos at night and not in the daytime. What was she trying to tell us? Was she simply trying to find her way in the dark, or possibly even scare off wild animals? Was she so sleep deprived and dehydrated by this time that she was possibly hallucinating? And was it even her who took the photographs at all? Unfortunately, we'll probably never know why Chris and Lizanna decided to pass over to the other side of the divide. Maybe they took a wrong turn. Maybe they were forced. Or maybe they just felt overconfident and wanted to explore further. Simply put, what we have here is a case of 2 young women getting lost in the jungle, desperately needing assistance and never receiving any. One can only imagine the fear and inner turmoil they must have felt, wandering through the untamed lands of a foreign country in the dead of night, starving and dehydrated, and panicking at every sound. And that is terrifying enough. The world has lost 2 more bright and beautiful human beings in Chris Kramers and Lizanna Frown. We can only wonder what they might be doing now, what they might have achieved in their lives, if only they had turned back towards Boquete on that fateful afternoon. Our hearts go out to their families. May they forever rest in peace.
There you go. For those of you that weren't familiar with this case, you are a little bit more now. It's just heartbreaking. I believe Troy asked at some point during the video which one was which. Lasan, I think, was the taller, the 6 foot tall, and then Chris was the shorter one. Either way, both young, very smart, very pretty, personable young women that were taken. I mean, the lights of someone's eyes. Their parents loved them. You know they did. Their siblings, if they had any. I mean, boyfriend. I think Lasan had a boyfriend. What's going through his mind while all that's going on? You know, what's happening to my girlfriend? It's just heartbreaking. I mean, my daughter, Sydney, she was born in 2000. She's 24 now. She just turned 24. I cannot imagine being forced to live this life knowing that something happened to her and I couldn't help her. And I don't even know what happened to her. It's awful. It's terrifying. Tiffany, I know you looked into it a lot in preparation for this. What are your thoughts?
Well, there were some things that were mentioned on there, that you had brought up, but I hadn't found when I was researching it, like with the, you had talked before the show about the tour guide, And, he was a little bit too I mean, I could see them saying, "No, fam, we're good. We're gonna go on this way." Maybe he did spook them into going the wrong way, and he could have just followed them anyway. I mean, but again, my daughter too was born in 2000. She turned 24 in August. So Kaylee's 25. I mean, there's a lot more questions than there are answers. But what I did find is, I think it was Lisanne's parents actually went to Panama, and they took some of the Dutch National Guards with them. Nobody could find them. There are two women who posted an article in 2023 that they were planning on going up there to look for the rest of their remains. I mean, on their own dollar, we're just going to go. Because there's supposed to be a dam in that river that they were talking about. And they're like, well, if any of their remains are still there, they're going to be right there at the dam. So they were actually planning on going up there. I didn't find if they did or not, but they were planning on going up there. But there's so many questions, like with the backpack. Why does anybody think that you can put a non-waterproof book bag into a river and have the dry backpack, the camera that's not damaged, the phones that are not damaged, and what the hell was it? Was the 77 incorrect access codes?
That's it. That's it. You just right on the fucking nose, Tiffany. You just hit it. Why? Why was there over 70 attempts to enter this young lady's passcode for her phone? And you and I talked about this. It's one of the things that we talked about before we came on. If your best friend and you, do y'all know each other's passcodes? Most of the time, I would say yes. Y'all know each other's. So if you're incapacitated, if there was an accident and you fell and you're unconscious, I think that your friend knows your passcode and able to get help.
Right.
Why does someone take 70 something attempts and never does get access to it?
That is,
but again,
ridiculous.
That's not everybody. I can't speak for everyone. I mean, some people are really, really private with their stuff. But I'm thinking girls, best friends, they don't care to share their passcode.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know everybody. Of course, I mean, we're family, but I mean, I don't ever have anything to hide. They can just pick up my phone, enter in my passcode, and, do what they need to do. But, if they're bunking together and they're splitting the costs, and, I would think, or I would like to think, that they would have shared each other's passcode just in case something happens. But they were not prepared to stay out there for any length of time. I mean, they had planned on being back at their host house by that evening. I mean, they only had one bottle of water between the two of them, and no doubt, I mean, the reason why the phones were being turned off was just to conserve battery. And then they only turned it on to try to call 911 repeatedly.
There are a couple of theories that are bouncing around that the video that we shared with you, the clip that we shared with you guys, didn't really go into. They did a little bit about the tour guide. I have looked in a little bit about this tour guide. This dude was creepy as fuck. I mean, I think he had a record. He was known for making advances toward women. And if this guy had anything to do with it, I don't think anything good would have come from that.
No, 100% not. And if he has a record and he is known to do that, why are you letting him work for you? Why are you letting him be a tour guide? That's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this isn't the U.S. I mean, we do vet our employees a little bit better, but yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Another thing I heard, and Tiffany, I don't know if you heard any of this in your research. Supposedly, there's a gang that operates over there, and one of them, I don't know which one. I think Lasan had the boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
that she was committed to, so I don't think it was her. But the other one, Chris, may have had something to do with. She may have met this gentleman over there that she was felt a connection to, or whatever. But he was a gang member, and it's reported. Now there are police and detectives and people that have looked into this, that have followed up to this, that say that one of them had some kind of dealings with this person that was a reported gang member. And it's believed that they ran into this person or another member of the gang on the trail. They went back with them to a party, and advances were made towards one of them, which were refuted. She didn't want anything to do with it, and that didn't end well. And both of them ended up dead. I wish that I would have written down where I heard this, but someone has followed this lead over there. And they said that a young man that first came out with this story ended up dead due to mysterious circumstances. That led to another young man who in turn ended up dead due to mysterious circumstances. Murdered. Both of these guys were murdered. And it was said that they had information about these two women. Did you find anything like that at all?
I didn't. No.
Again, all of the studying, all of the looking in, the researching that I have done, which is quite a bit, I only saw that in a couple places. But people are more scary than cryptids. People are more scary than ghosts, than paranormal stuff. I would rather deal with any of that than a crazy person.
Exactly.
And I think that that's what happened to these young ladies.
Well, let's look at the bones. Okay, so Chris Krimmer, it was her pelvis that was found. It was said to have been bleached. So, but in that time period, like it said, it would not have been able to have been bleached the way that they're saying.
Yeah.
Lasanne's foot was found. Her boot was found, and then her foot was found in her boot. So from what I heard, they found her boot and her foot in the, okay, this is the jungle, guys. The jungle. They found her foot behind a bush, kind of situated behind a tree. First off, it's the jungle. Are you just going to have some kind of radar detection that goes off and says, hey, there's a shoe over here that's got a foot in it? No. But it was like, I think I'd read somewhere it was like a clean cut.
Yeah, I read that too.
It was not jagged. It was not
like surgical.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, and I think it was Mike who had said, did he have an operating room in his basement? This tour guide, I mean, how do you get a surgical precision clean cut? I don't get that part at all. And the pictures, the 509, okay, 509 had been deleted, and when they took the SD card out, it showed that it still had some data on it. So from what I heard is when you take the SD card out, there's some data still on it. However, it looked to have been deleted by a computer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no computer. They didn't have a computer.
They weren't walking around with a computer.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's like Chris said, the bleach bone sounds like a serial killer. You know, pour some acid on it. But it's
Something
just,
has happened. Something happened to these young ladies, and someone out there knows the truth. And this one, I don't. A lot of the things that we cover, Tiffany, I think I have this feeling we will never know the answer. This one, I feel like we will.
eventually, I think so. I think,
Someone knows what happens, and they will come forward.
yeah, I think so. I think there's like these two women who are invested enough in this case to go and look for the rest of their remains. I mean, who's to say? I mean, they could find them and, it could be solved then. But there's so many, like what was it, 100 pictures or 90 pictures that were taken. If Chris died April 5th and Lisanne didn't, because there's speculation that they were taking the picture. She was taking the pictures either to at night to alert somebody of their whereabouts because the flash was going off.
Or to see where they were going, or to
Mhm.
scare something off.
Right. There's just so many what ifs. There's so many questions.
Can you just imagine? Take a second, everybody. Take a second and imagine. Put yourself in their shoes. How terrified you would be. I mean, there's been times here in Tennessee, Georgia, in my surrounding areas that I've been camping and I've been scared. But could you imagine being in a place that you're not familiar with, the woods, the jungle, and someone's trying to bring you harm? Just yeah, it sounds ritual. I mean, it's terrifying, guys. I hate that these young ladies went through that. I can't stand it.
Well,
I
and I've
mean,
been,
and again, let's look at this. These two ladies, they were young, they were pretty, they were foreign. They weren't, you know, they weren't used to the area. They were new to the area. So, and I think they come from pretty well-to-do families. They're getting attention.
mhm,
What's the people that are over there that aren't getting attention? How much is going on over
right,
there? Because there's been talk of a serial killer operating over there. So the locals that didn't come from wealthy families, that weren't, on vacation, that are just disappearing. What's going on over there?
right. And it is so foreign. And it is, it's like, it's a jungle. It's like, and you can have storms there and flash flooding in an instant. I mean, so who's to say that that didn't happen? Let's just hypothetically speak. Okay, it's raining and there's a flash flood. Okay, they could have gotten injured that way because some of the bones were broken. Okay, so this could
Mhm.
have caused the panic. This could have caused the numerous phone calls to 911, and only one of those phone calls connected for 2 seconds, and then it cut off because of the reception. There was no reception. But okay, so but it still leaves open the fact that somebody had to have had their phone that wasn't them who was trying to get into it. And then, you know, I, I don't know. I just don't know. There's so many what ifs. What if
So many.
that happened?
So many what ifs. I mean, like we said earlier, we're not going to come to an answer on this show. This show is just to raise awareness, to get more people talking about it. If enough people talk about it and raise hell about it, maybe we'll get answers. So we're doing our little part.
We're trying.
All right, let's go to some of these questions that we have highlighted. First one, Goony Goo Goo, 299. Thank you, buddy. That is Mr. Gary Blaylock. Mike Wolf, does anyone find it strange there were other Dutch nationals there at the same time?
I mean, they could have been there for the same reasons that these two girls were. Maybe volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is that a tourist destination?
I think it does have the touristy, thing. I mean, because it's like a whole nother world that you could experience.
Yeah, so I
And
guess
that's
it could be strange.
yeah. And that's what they were saying on the article that you played is, there's a lot of hush hush going on because of this supposed serial killer, and tourists aren't going to want to come, and everything gets swept under the rug.
Yeah. Miss Chris Blaylock, why would her foot bone still be in her boot? Was it her foot bone or was it her foot? Was
It
it
was her
decayed?
whole foot. It was her whole
So
foot from ankle to toe. It was
so
like,
flesh and everything.
yes, because they did upon, looking through, throughout the area, there were pieces of flesh that were found. Some of them were Lisanne's and some of them were Chris's. But yes, it was her whole foot.
So flesh and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Real quick, my good buddy, Miss Crystal Blevins, became a PO freak tonight. Thank you very, 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 very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. Mike Wolf, did they check that tour guide's basement for an operating room? Might be selling off body parts. I might watch too many horror movies. But, I mean, it happens. I mean, people sell off body parts and organs and shit.
Black market, man. Kidneys, livers, spleens.
But to answer your question, no, I don't know what was checked. I'm sure the authorities looked into him. I would hope anyway. Alex, are they just throwing the word cannibal out there, or are they actually cannibals out there? Great question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that either. I don't know if there's actually, because I was like, me, I was like digging into like the dark side of this, not the, what when you're a researcher, you have to look at everything, right? So I was like, what cryptids could be in Panama?
All right, Alex, again, this is what we just talked about. That her foot was cut off, like bone was cut, or was there meat on the foot bone, while other bones are meat free and bleached? That's the same question I had, Alex. I don't know.
Yeah, Lisanne's foot was in her boot, and it did have pieces of flesh on it. It was like it was cut from the ankle. And then I think the rest of it were just bones that they found.
Crystal says, let her freak flag fly.
That's
fly
right.
it, ma'am. Fly it. We are glad to have you. All right, real quick. Oh my gosh. This is a new one. But you guys have been showing up and showing out tonight. Since we talked about our good friend Chris hitting us with a hundo. Joe Pat hit us with 15.
Oh, thank you.
Our brand new member, Stormy. Stormy hit us with 20.
Oh, thank you, Stormy.
Thank you so much. And our awesome buddy, Mr. Troy, hit us with another 50.
Oh, thank y'all. You're so cool.
Thank you guys so very much. You are helping us out in ways that you just cannot know. We appreciate it so much. We love y'all very much.
Yes. Now, can we talk about the resolves that we have made as the dynamic duo for next year?
What are you talking about?
You don't play dumb.
I wasn't paying attention. Say that again.
I said, can we talk about what we're planning for next year?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So, all right. So we were going through our shows and, the subscribers are down and, we were just kind of, meshing minds and thoughts. And, you know, we were looking back at the beginning of this year and the amount of shows, and it just kind of dwindled down. Now, I had all that happen in November, and I could not mentally do 110% like I normally do. And then we were sick in December, and then Wayne was out of town. So we only did 4 shows in December. And I was like, that's crap. We can't do that to our people. So we sat down and we talked, and what we are planning to do is we are wanting to do 6 to 8 shows every month, and then
6 to 8 live shows.
Yes, 6 to 8 live shows every month, and then 2 members only per month, as well as doing the side episodes of Spooky Sundays and the Missing Persons. And we are working on another giveaway for our members.
Yes, we are. We are very, very, very excited about that. It's New Year's resolutions that we have come up with. So again, we are wanting for starting January 1st, moving forward, 6 to 8 live shows a month, at least 2 members only live shows every month, and we are planning a new giveaway. Alex says best $1.99 ever. I agree with you so much, buddy. Let's see what Ghost Bait says. Add in a live paranormal. We can do that.
We can do that. And I was muted, so I was excited, and nobody heard how excited I was.
No, Crystal and I have been talking behind scenes about taking me on my very first paranormal investigation. And we have gone out some places, and we've come up with the idea of Corpsewood Manor in Georgia, North Georgia. So I think we're going to do that, and we may as well film it and go live from there if we can.
I think you should. And Alex said that he would make a donation for the giveaway.
Okay, awesome. Let me know what you got, Alex.
Yeah, that would be cool. But yeah, so I talked to Zach about this. And
whoa. Wayne is giving no, Ruby. Ruby has a home right here. Ruby is not going anywhere, but thank you, Mr. Robert. I love you, buddy.
So what I was saying before Wayne had a freak out is that I had talked to Zach about it, and you know, all this fun stuff happens away from where I am. Okay, I'm in Virginia, Wayne's in Tennessee. All of our members are like right here together, and I'm like way over here. So I am planning on traveling more to be a part of things that you guys have going on in Tennessee.
There you go. I'll sign you up. We'll get you set up for a member of Manimal Research.
I'm just saying. So there's a lot of cool things that are going to start happening in 2025, and I'm so stoked about it.
Joe Pat, why are you calling me out, dude?
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong at all. That's what Crystal Blevins is trying to get me out of. Because she ain't afraid of shit.
Yeah.
So I hear.
He ain't wrong. It would be, yeah. It's just a lot of cool stuff, and I'm so excited. And I was so excited to be able to come on tonight and tell you guys, and you know, be like, hey, look, this is really cool. This is what we're gonna do. So, and be waiting for the next installment of Spooky Sundays, because that was recorded today.
Yes, it was. It will be released via podcast probably tomorrow. I'm going to do my best to get it out tomorrow. But, yeah, all of that said, we just got a few days left in 2024. We will see y'all again before the end of the year.
Yes.
But we just want to talk a little bit about next year.
Yep. And we're already, talking about next year, talking about January. I have 2 on the calendar already, working on the 3rd. So we're getting them. And I'm excited.
Right. All right, let's get out of here, madam. Say your goodbyes.
Thank you all again for your support and for your Cash Apps and your Venmos and your everything. Because we can't do what we do without you. I mean, we would just fall apart. So I appreciate you so much and all that you do and for all the love and support that you show us. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
You guys are loved so much more than you know. You are appreciated so much more than you know. Thank you, everyone that is able to help and that does. Everyone that's not, we understand and we love you. Just being here is enough. We appreciate that. Please tell everyone about the show. And the best thing you can do to help us, if you want, help us grow the show.
Mm-hmm.
Share it. Tell everybody about it. Tell them how much fun you have while you're here. And just help us keep growing. That would be the best thing you can do for us. But until we talk again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.